Hello, beautiful souls. My name is Jessie, and welcome back to another episode of Rewired to Inspire. This show where we'll dive into self-love, learn tangible ways to rewire the brain, and discovering your soul's purpose. The goal of Rewired to Inspire is to encourage listeners to begin doing the hard work, to get curious and open to maximizing your life. Our mindset shapes how we live. Depending on life events, traumas, and personal experiences, our mindsets are all vastly different. However, one thing we all have in common is the ability to rewire our mind, to change the narrative, and to pivot our lives. I hope you leave each episode with the belief that you are so worthy to live a life true to you. I look forward to chatting with you every single Tuesday and Thursday and helping you grow exponentially in all areas of your life. Without further ado, here's today's episode. Hello, beautiful souls. My name is Jessie, and welcome back to my podcast, Rewire to Inspire. I am pumped to be jumping on here for episode 58 with you all. I am just full of eagerness and excitement to be jumping on the microphone with you guys today. I just got off a couple coaching sessions with Alan, and my awareness of self and just life and things is honestly exponentially growing at a pace that I am doing my very best to catch up with. And with having new awareness does often lead us to feeling a certain type of way, because when we get a lot of awareness, we almost start to have an identity crisis because we start to be unrelatable to old people, other places, old paradigms. We start to lose connection with our old self as we embark on a new journey and find ourselves on a new path. And so I think that me feeling this way, and I almost want to refer to it as like growing pains, because when we're learning so many new things and we're evolving, there's almost a part of us that has to catch up with that new developed version of ourselves. And so I'm so glad that I'm feeling this way, because today's topic that I had wrote down that I wanted to chat with you all today is some lessons that I've learned over the last 2 years. And so I was sitting here and I'm like, I feel like I've learned a heck of a lot more than most 23-year-olds have learned by this point in their life. And I don't mean any disrespect when I say that, but I mean that I want to be able to share that with you all to be able to level up your life as well. Because all the new awareness that I've gotten has not happened by default, but has happened by putting in the work, showing up, getting around the right people, having hard conversations, going to therapy, and just showing up each and every day and becoming so obsessed with wanting to become the next best version of myself. So for today, I think it's very fitting, and I truly hope that these inspire you to maybe reflect on some things in your own life that you can teach to others. Right? How can you pour from your own experiences to help other people elevate their life? Because although these have been my 5 top lessons that I want to share with you all, and I hope that they encourage you to level up in your life, and vice versa, I'm sure you have so many great things that you've embarked on that you can now share with the world. And so without further ado, let's dive into 5 lessons that I have learned over the last 2 years on my self-development, personal development journey. And so one of the huge ones, which I talk about pretty often on my podcast, but that's to start before you're ready. Start the thing that you keep telling yourself you want to do before you're ready. And I talk a lot about failing forward and that you don't have to know all the answers and you don't have to have it all figured out. But I think we often know that in our conscious mind, but we often allow it to control us without even realizing. And what I mean by that is, we might think that we're ready to do something, but yet we're not taking action. And when we ask ourselves why we're not taking action, it's often because a part of us feels like we're not ready. We feel like we don't have all the answers. We feel like people will judge us. We feel like it's not the time, or we just come up with all these excuses. And I think that those excuses that we tell ourselves, they're really doing nothing except for keeping you safe. And so I remember even before I began this podcast, and I chatted about this on my year anniversary podcast episode, but I shared how when I first began this journey, I did not know a thing about podcasting. All I knew from my awareness was that people jumped on the mic, uploaded their audio, and that's what a podcast was. I didn't realize all the behind the scenes things that happen as far as thinking of content, knowing what your audio sound is, what the quality is, being able to add music, being able to have an intro and outro, where to publish your information, how to create cover art, who it is that you're talking to. These were all things that I didn't know, but I didn't have to know to get started. And so one of my biggest lessons that I've learned over the past 2 years is if you're feeling pulled to do something or you want to do something, do it before you're ready. Because if you wait till you're ready, there's really no point in doing it if you think about it in the first place, because you don't need to have all the answers before you begin. And failing forward, I say that a lot on my podcast. And what failing forward means is basically you're okay with quote unquote failing because you know it's going to strive you forward. We learn through our mistakes. If you ask yourself any new awareness that you've gained in your life, it's often because somebody, yourself or somebody else, has made a mistake that's caused them to get a new level of awareness that they are then able to implement into their life. And failing forward is really the only way that we can and do learn, because it's through failing and through trial and error that we're able to finally find something that works for us, gain new awareness, get 1% better at it until one day we look back and we're like, holy smokes, I've grown so much. But we will not grow so much and we will not have anything to look back on if we don't just start the thing. And so in saying that, furthermore, I want you to think of anything in your life that you feel just comes easier naturally to you, or you feel people tell you, you're so good at that. Were you always that good at that? Or have you gotten better at that because you implement it every day, because you work towards it all the time? Nothing comes to us easily from the beginning. We have to be willing to learn. And that is why I look at our school system and how it's set up. If you gave a kindergartner a grade 12 test, they would have no idea what the words even mean, what it is that you're talking about. Whereas if you gave a grade 12 a kindergarten test, they would be like, whoa, holy smokes, this is so easy. And that's because over time you've gained new awareness. You've put new tools in your toolbox. You've leveled up. You're more aware. You've made more mistakes. You've learned this time and time again through repetition. And so of course, through default, you know more. And so life is no different. Any journey in life is no different. If you're wanting to embark on something, but all you're telling yourself is, I'm not ready, ask yourself when it is that you will be ready. And do you think, more importantly, furthermore through that, do you think you will be able to ever be ready without taking action? Because action creates momentum, not the other way around. This was like my biggest mind-blowing learning of last week. If you think about momentum, momentum is not created before an action. Momentum happens as a byproduct of taking action. If you think about a car sitting stagnant, say that 3 times, sitting stagnant, it has no momentum. But as you turn the car on and as it starts to roll and as it gets gas and as it gets power, it gets momentum. Our goals in life is no different. As we start to take strides and fail forward and just go with something, go on a whim, go with trust, go with fate, and be resourceful and try to figure it out and try to learn and be okay with that and be okay with not being the expert, that is how you will get momentum, and that is how you will begin to see results, and therefore causing you to be quote unquote ready. Because I don't think we can ever actually truly be ready at anything in life. If we were, then life would be pretty boring. If we were ready to do something, ask yourself what that even means. What does being ready actually mean? Does that mean that you have it all figured out? Because I don't think we ever actually have everything completely figured out. Even those that are the most successful in what they do, there is never a cap on potential. There is never a cap on anything in life. And so to say you're waiting for yourself to be ready, that is only going to hold you back. And in my opinion, is just largely an excuse. And so that has been my first lesson of the last 2 years, is that if you're feeling pulled to do something or you want to do something, just do it. Take a small action. Small actions will compound over time. 1% improvement will compound over time. But if you never put in the work and take action, that momentum train can never get started. So that is my biggest lesson I've learned. Number 2, you will never, ever, ever make everyone happy, nor are we supposed to. My God, we all feel so much pressure to just make everyone around us happy and to just make sure everybody around us feels content and seen and heard and loved. Meanwhile, we forget how much that depletes us, how much that is hurting us. And for so long in my life, I felt like I couldn't do things that were calling me and that I felt were in alignment because I was scared that I was going to make certain people unhappy. I was scared that if I took direction in a certain area, I would lose people in my life, and so I couldn't do that. But what I didn't realize is that by not doing the things that I wanted to be doing, I was only hurting myself. And at the end of the day, the only thing that we're promised and guaranteed and that we have control over is ourselves. Yet we spend so much time just trying to make everyone else around us happy, and we forget about us and we put ourselves last. Not everybody is going to vibe with you, and vice versa. Imagine if we all got along talking about the same topics with the same perspective, not only would that be boring, but that would also just mean that we're all the same. And we're all hardwired differently. We all have different experiences. We all have different upbringings. We all have different gifts and talents and reasons why we're here. And so if we're all trying to make everybody happy, think of how much that's only stemming you away from your potential. Because we're so guilty of that, right? We do. Even when I first started this podcast, I was so nervous that people were going to judge me. People were going to laugh. People were going to whatever. But had I just held on to that and worried about that, I never would have took action to find podcasting, which is now such a huge part of my identity and a huge driver in what fulfills me every single day. And so asking yourself, are you allowing other people to determine your happiness? Are you veering away from things that you truly want to do because you're just so hyper-focused on maintaining those relationships in your life? And what if those relationships in your life are what's holding you back from finding your true self, finding your happiness, finding what you're here and meant to do? And just know that you're not alone. We're all guilty of wanting to make everybody around us happy. That is our human instinct wiring. But that is likely hurting you more than you even realize, because you'll lose touch with your organic true self by being a follower, by trying to be like everybody else, by trying to go with the flow and go with the status quo and fit in. And what even is fitting in? If you think about it, what is fitting in? What does that mean? Why is there so many different career opportunities? Why is there so many different perspectives? Why is everything so different if we all try to be the same? And the thing is that you will jeopardize your own happiness by hyper-focusing on trying to please everyone around you and wondering why you feel depleted. I'm going to say that again. You will jeopardize your own happiness by hyper-focusing on trying to please everybody around you, and then you'll wonder why you feel depleted. The amount of times that I'll read on social media or I'll just hear in conversation, I just feel like I have no purpose. And the first thing that goes in the back of my mind is, when you're sitting at home at night, what is it you're thinking about? Are you thinking about society? Are you thinking about how your friends and family will view you? Are you thinking about how much your friend that you've had for 10 years will maybe look at you a different way if you take action? Those are all things that you need to ask yourself. Why is it that you're okay with trying to keep everyone happy, even if that means self-detriment yourself and your own worth? Because I've been going through a transitional phase right now where I've honestly lost touch with a lot of people in my old world. And the reason for that is because I wasn't happy, because when I got around those people, I felt like I couldn't be organically myself. I felt like I couldn't talk about my hopes and dreams. I couldn't talk about becoming the best version of myself because they weren't at the same level of self-belief. And so to them, I was arrogant, I was toxic, I was this, I was that. But in retrospect, now being a part of a community that is so accepting and empowering of that, I am now applauded and encouraged for my ambition, right? And so if you're feeling that way and feeling depleted and feeling like not only are you trying to make everyone happy, but everyone around you is also making you feel not happy, so the reverse of that, something needs to change. Reminding yourself you will not make everyone happy, and so you are going to exhaust yourself trying to do so. I even remember when I started my network marketing company with Young Living, I thought everybody was my target audience because I truly believed in the product so much, and I felt like I can benefit everybody. And as much as in retrospect, I do think that's true, I had to remind myself that not all people are my people. Not all people are your people, and that is okay. We are not supposed to all be the same. So reminder that it's time that you begin to attract, stop forcing, become who you are, hone into that, embrace that, discover that, find that, work on that, and then you will begin to attract like Like attracts like. And so if you are just trying to please everybody, you are going to be lost. You are going to be wandering because you cannot fill the shoes of everybody, and you are going to burn yourself out trying to do so. And so instead, I encourage you to focus your energy on pouring into yourself, pouring in becoming the best version of yourself, pouring into finding your purpose, finding your dharma, and then attracting those in alignment. So that is my second lesson, which is honestly a continuum of lessons, but I've really put my foot down on that. I can never make everybody happy, but I can and have control over doing the things that make me happy and pouring that energy into those around me that are in alignment. Keyword there, in alignment, not into everybody, because not everybody deserves your beautiful energy. Not everybody deserves your kindness. That might sound hardcore, but it's true, and you will deplete yourself trying to think that everybody is deserving of your energy. And not deserving in the way of like them being deserving, but deserving of them being able to drain your energy to invest in them when you are getting nothing in return. So that is my second lesson. Number 3, and this is one that is like been on my radar highly for the last 2 months and has honestly changed my freaking life. And if you can take one out of these 5 away, please let it be this one. Number 3, money is vastly not taught or understood. That is like, and I don't mean just money, even math, like the fundamentals of numbers, but specifically money is so vastly understood and appreciated that I think that is why we end up screwing ourselves, because we don't understand the compound of numbers. And for so long, I held on to the identity that I suck at math, I'm not good at math, I'm not good at numbers, I'll never understand, blah, blah, blah. But in reality, it's just because I had never studied it. I had never learned about it. I had never gone out to learn about it because I based my judgment based off of what I was learning in school. And because my marks were reflectant that I wasn't strong in math, I held on to that identity for so long. And in retrospect, I was harming myself because I was screwing up my finances, getting myself into debt, not understanding the backlash of buying a new vehicle, buying expensive things, not realizing the compound that money has. And so money is like one of the biggest things that is so ununderstood and unexplained to us that we have to get resourceful to go out and learn about it. And I think that we can all agree that, we're not really taught much about finances in school. We're not really taught much about numbers and how that makes sense. And I think that a lot of us live our lives with that identity that we're not very good at it, and so we don't take action. But I want to empower you that even though I don't think math is my strongest suit, I know that it can get better, and with understanding of it, it makes it get better over time. And I was doing some reading on money and statistics and just like the average debt and things like that. And I came across this article basically saying that the average debt per person in Canada without a mortgage is between $20,000 and $25,000 under the age of 30. And including a mortgage, this is in 2020 before inflation has even set in, is $73,500, the average debt per household under 30 with a mortgage. $73,000. $73,000 might not sound like a lot because statistically across the board, that would be like a pretty low mortgage, right? Like especially in today's day and age when houses that were $100,000 6 years ago are now blasting off $700,000 and just inflation has been crazy. But just to even understand that like debt and interest and the compound of credit cards and just how all those things work. And I'm still raising my awareness of it, and I can only speak on it to the awareness that I have, but I'm just starting to understand that things are clicking. Things are starting to make sense, right? When I now track my finances. Every single cent that I spend, I have a tracking system where I can see if it's something that was necessary, unnecessary, where it was going, why I needed to buy it, etc., etc. And that might sound hardcore, but that is going to make the difference between me and somebody who doesn't track, because I can see where every cent goes and I'm able to compound that over time to see if I would have invested that $5 for that coffee, instead leaving it and allowing it to compound over time in 10 years, I could buy all the coffee I want. And that's definitely how it happens. But you have to understand the fundamentals of how money works in order to get that. And so that's a huge thing that you can start with, is just beginning to track. Just get a notepad, and every time you spend money, I want you to write it down. And I want you to begin to notice at the end of the week how much money you're spending on unnecessary things that you might not even realize, and how much that could be compounding more than you think. Because we can all be a lot more financially successful than we give ourselves credit for if only we had the understanding of how important math and understanding numbers is. And so I have a question for you all, and this was brought to my awareness. I was reading The Compound Effect with my partner the other day, and this is an example that's in the book, and it's like the most powerful question that I can give you. And so if I walked up to you right now on the street and I said, I can give you $1 million today, or I can give you a penny today that is going to double in value every single day for 31 days. Which one would you choose? I guarantee you 99.99% of the population would want the $1 million, because we're not able to see the compound effect that that penny has over time. But in retrospect, if you were to take that penny and allow it to compound every single day, doubling in value, guess how much money you would have after 31 days? Just over $10 million. Investing money is for the long run. That $5 coffee, the $20 sweater, that $10 quick meal that you grab because you forgot your lunch, they all add up. 1 penny today, doubling in value for a month, equates to over $10 million. Do the math. Literally Google the magic penny. You will see it. That is the beauty of the compound effect. But we don't realize that in our day-to-day actions. And this applies across the board. This applies to fitness. This applies to health. This applies to money. This applies to everything across the board is a compound effect. Personal development, pushing out content, the drive of doing things. Everything compounds over time, and we don't realize that how missing even one day can offset us hugely. They use this analogy at Next Level University of basically think a plane flying to a destination. If that plane goes 1% off the rails of their destination, you're at a completely different place in the world. Just by veering the plane angle by 1%, because that gap of compound over time is going to widen that gap. Money is no different, and this is something I wish I understood, and I'm so grateful that I'm able to understand this early in my 20s, so I'm able to pay off debt, I'm able to invest properly, I'm able to understand the compound that $5 coffee and that whatever has over time, and so I'm able to set my future self up not only for success, but beyond success that I can even imagine, and becoming obsessed with that. Like, numbers and statistics do not lie, especially if they're accurate and you're tracking it every single day. It will not lie. You will be able to see your trajectory of that. And so that is my third point and lesson. Get obsessed with learning about money. Get obsessed with learning about numbers. Obsessed with learning about the compound effect. I have 3 books I want to recommend to you guys. The first one is called The Compound Effect. The second one, Wealthy Barber. And the third one, Rich Dad, Poor Dad. And I have so many more books that I can recommend to you guys. I will put the links to all those books in the description below for you guys to get your hands on, because to me, investing in books and audiobooks and learning and growing is just that. It's an investment. Are you investing things, or are you just buying things to be comfortable and to glorify and to look the best as possible in society's eyes? Asking yourself every single day, who is it that you're playing for? Are you playing for the long run, or are you playing for short-term pleasure? Because that is what's going to offset you between being the few and far between that are beyond successful and being with the status quo. Something intense, but definitely something to think about. Oh, lovely number 4, going off of that, which honestly, some of these things are probably turning, because I'm 23 years old right now sharing life lessons that I've had. And most people are probably going to read that and go, what can I possibly learn from a 23-year-old? And that brings me to my 4th point. Age does not define Jack Shiznick. My age, your age, I don't care what it is. It does not define your worth or your knowledge, your awareness, your work ethic. Age is literally just a number. Just a number. It does not define anything. And I've spent so much of my life shying away. And I say so much of my life, and I'm the oldest I've ever been, which is interesting. But I remember just having such high awareness my whole life, but I would always downplay it because I felt like if I turned that dial up, I would scare away people around me. I felt like if I spoke my truth to those that were older than me, they would look down on me or frown upon me, or I would make them feel some type of way. But I'm learning that with all the love, that's not my problem. Because I share things from my heart and I share things because I care and I have a high level of awareness because I've done the work and I've studied things and I show up and whatever. And so if I'm able to communicate that at a young age, isn't that a beautiful thing? Isn't that what we want, is to empower our youth to use their voice and to stand up and to make them feel good? The definition of ageism is basically stereotyping or discriminating someone based on their age. And that is how I have felt most of my life, because I do, in some way, shapes, or forms across the board, think that I am pretty superior to a lot of 23-year-olds because I know that I'm very unique in that I show up every day, I do the work every day, I track everything, I have systems, I'm a part of a great team. But I know that in saying that, that can really come across as egotistical, that can come across as ignorance. But in reality, it takes a lot to say that, because for so long I toned my voice down, I toned my worth down to fit in. But why don't I dial that up instead and encourage those around me to also dial their truth up, also dial their potential up, so we can grow as a collective instead of saying, you're 23 years old, what do you know? And I will just say that it does come down to, what is your arena of knowledge? Because there's definitely things that I cannot speak to. Being a mom is something that I cannot speak to. And so I'm not going to share my opinion to another mom who's going through something because I don't have awareness. I share things from my awareness that I know, and that I know because I've done the work, and I share that through my voice. But when we just view age as like a cap of somebody's potential, it is very, very detrimental and almost allows us to want to withhold our growth and keep ourselves small so that we don't exceed that. But I'm just learning to embrace and hone in that, like, heck yeah, I'm only 23 and I know so much, and that means I'm at the beginning, and like, think how far I'm going to be in 10 years, 20 years, 30 years. Like, this is awesome. But for so long, I tried to stay quiet because I felt like my age was a negative thing. And I think that this started because when I was a counselor and working with folks and I had clients, a lot of them would say, how old are you? And I would tell them at the time I was only 19, 20, and they would say, oh, like, is there anybody else I can work with? And so for so long, I just started to associate my age with being a negative thing. But the thing is we can't control that. We cannot control our age. However, we can control our knowledge. We can control the things that we know and our message to share to the world. My biggest advice, especially to youth, is to never lower your worth or knowledge based on your age. If someone doesn't want to value your opinion, doesn't want to value your worth, that is on them, not you. And that is something that I wish I had honed into a little bit earlier. And no matter what your age is, if you're listening to this and you're 50, amazing. Don't let that stop you from embarking on something new, because I think that this starts to work in the reverse way, where then when we get older, we think that we can't take action because we're too old to take action. And then when we're young, we're too afraid to speak our voice because we don't think we're old enough to have value. And so it's like, where is that sweet spot? It doesn't exist. It only exists as far as we allow it to exist. So age does not define you. Age does not define your worth. Age does not define your cap. The only thing that defines any of those things is your mindset and the story you're telling yourself. So get that crap out of your head. Age does not mean anything. And don't let anybody tell you that it does, because it does not. Number 5. I love this one. I did a whole episode on this one because it's something I'm truly, truly passionate about. But number 5, do not go with the flow. Be the difference. Be the odd one out. Be the weirdo. Be the unique one. Be the one doing things differently. Be the one going the extra mile. Be the one that's not afraid to stand out. It's become so societally acceptable to do the bare minimum, especially at a quote-unquote younger age. To just party and have fun and relax on the weekends, and after 5 o'clock hits, you can just chill and like whatever. And that's become so socially acceptable that those who want to do personal development, those that want to grow themselves, those that want to become the best version of themselves, are often left feeling super, super alone. And I know this because that is the pool that I'm hanging out in. It is very, very small. But I know that I would rather be in that small pool of fulfilled people that lift me up and make me feel good and vice versa than to be around people that are just okay doing the bare minimum in life. Okay just floating by. Okay just getting a job, making a paycheck, blowing their paycheck, being in debt and dying. Like, honestly, like, how often does that happen in our society? And it's like, at what point do we put our foot down and say, I want to be more. I want to become more. Don't wait to be on your deathbed to say, I wish I lived a life more true to me. I wish I made a difference. We're all here to make a difference. We're all here for a reason, but we lose touch with that as we go through life. Become really obsessed with becoming the best version of yourself. We aren't here to live a mediocre life. We each have so many unique traits, gifts, but we have to be able to tap into that. We have to be able to work hard in order to expand that. Don't look at other people and just wish that you could be like them. How much time have you spent on TikTok, on Instagram, on social media, magazines, whatever, just being like, I wish I was like Kim K. I wish I was as successful as Ellen. I wish I was as jacked as The Rock. Study their ethic. Know the difference between those who actually work hard and those who are just a portrait of working hard. Are you comparing yourself and feeling crummy about yourself because someone can just post a picture on social media, get millions of likes, make millions of dollars, live in a mansion? What are you comparing yourself to? Because if you're comparing yourself in your day 1 to somebody's day 50, you're gonna hurt yourself. But if you're just okay comparing yourself and saying you could never be that, you will never be that. Be okay being the odd one out, being lonely for a while you tap into new awareness. It's so interesting. And the fact that, and this is like super, super deep into biology, but 1 in 400 trillion, that number is the odds of you actually being born. 1 in 400 trillion. You were chosen to be here. Are you really okay with just going with the flow? Are you okay with having the same friends your whole life? Are you okay with doing the same job your whole life? And hey, if your job brings you joy, brings you fulfillment, and you love it, then amazing. Maybe that is your purpose. I'm talking more about those of us who feel unfulfilled but are okay just staying there because you don't want to do the work to grow. I recognized that my life was just not it. It was not bringing me anything. I felt stuck. I felt like I was searching for so long. And then finally I landed on just like a glimpse of like, maybe I kind of want to share my voice, like, but people are probably going to judge me, but I didn't care. I did in the beginning. But as time went on and as I just noticed how fulfilled I was and how much joy this was bringing me, I'm like, why do I care what somebody else thinks about me when it's not their life? If they want to spend their time worrying about me, that's okay. I'm going to invest my energy into pouring things that bring me happiness. And so please, love, listening to this, listener, right now, don't go with the flow. Make a difference. Live your life optimally. And that doesn't mean going and spending all your money laying on the beach, living your best life. That is not what that means. Society wants you to think that. Instagram wants you to think that. Being the difference by doing the work, putting in personal development, putting in the hours, reading personal growth books, listening to inspirational speeches, going to the gym, holding yourself accountable, tracking your finances, tracking your habits, becoming the best damn version of yourself. It is so rare, but it is so freaking fulfilling. And so that is my 5th lesson that I've learned over the past 2 years, is to stand out. Stand out and stand proud about it. I don't care what anybody else thinks about my journey because it's not their path. And if they want to spend their energy worried about my path, that is not in my control. All I can control is making sure I'm living my life in alignment optimally to set me up, my future up, and my present self up to be the happiest, most fulfilled version, which is why we're here. 1 in 4 trillion chance of you being here. You don't take that for granted. Don't take any day for granted. Show up and be the best version of yourself. I truly, truly hope you guys enjoyed those 5 lessons that I've learned over the last 2 years. I don't share those lightly. They've taken a lot of work to be able to learn those lessons. They did not just happen by default. I hope that those of you who decided to tune in, even after reading this title, just know from my heart how thankful I am for you. Because I know how much we can read that and be like, nah, I don't care about somebody else's lessons. Like, I got enough of my own stuff going on. But I teach this and I share this because I've learned it through trial and error. What I've learned in 2 years, I can now teach to you in this 35-minute podcast to hopefully help you pivot your life to become the best version of yourself. And I would love to hear some things in your life, some lessons you've learned that I can begin to incorporate into my life. Of course, if they're in alignment and they are what is going to fill my cup and strive me forward. But I truly, truly want to thank you guys for tuning in, and I hope that this allows you to just reflect on some things in your life, reflect on some areas of your life, and also give yourself some credit for the growth that you've made over time and not forget and lose touch with that. So thank you guys so much for tuning into today's episode of Rewire to Inspire. As always, I'm so thankful for you guys. It would mean the world to me if you guys could leave a review below, rate this show, share this show with someone you think would enjoy. I'm on a mission to change our globe's narrative around mental health, inner child work, and becoming the best version of yourself and tweaking our fixed mindsets to live optimally. This podcast is hardcore because this is for hardcore, next level driven people who are ready to become the best dang version of themselves. All the love. Mwah. I love you guys. Thank you all so much. Until next time. Thank you all so much for tuning into today's episode of Rewire to Inspire. I absolutely love connecting with you all, so make sure you're following me on Instagram. I am at JessieBrown13. If you enjoyed today's episode, please feel free to leave a review or share with someone you think would enjoy. I look forward to chatting with you all next episode. And remember, get out of your head and into your heart.